So what was your worst survival job?
Ooh.
I have had many. I started working at a florist shop. That was like my youngest job at like 12 because they would let me sweep up the leaves. But I was a temp for
Child
a little
labor
bit.
law should have been looked at.
Maybe I shouldn't have told my age there. I was like 12 going on. Right, okay. I was a temp and I went into, every day was a different job. So, you know, you got fully into contact. And I'm from DC, so born and raised in Washington, DC. And one time I know nothing about history. I am really bad with dates. And I had to do the presidential tour around.
Yeah, she thought we were recording tomorrow.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible with dates. And so I get this job and I have to be there in an hour, dressed fully in speaking of camel, I had to dress fully in like a camel. I had to wear a hat so they know I'm the tour guide, obviously. And I was trying to memorize all these facts about which house, you know, the White House, the history, and then you'd walk around downtown by the monuments and I had to know the history. I mean, I made up half of it. Thank God. That's where my improv skills came in because I really was just,
that's good.
You know?
Also, that seems like a very odd thing to temp in for.
Doesn't it?
Is having to be like a Smithsonian history buff.
what?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's concerning. How many other like
have to
important
do that every
jobs
day.
are people temping in for?
Probably everything.
Congress, just every day. Like-
Nobody is qualified for anything that they're doing because it's a temp. Yeah, so I was working with a temp agency for about, probably like a couple months. And, you know, I had a lot of interesting jobs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was probably my most interesting.
Did you ever get like a ghost tour? You're just doing like.
Oh my God.
I would die if you were dressed like a founding father and you were like at the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Is it
Right.
the Jefferson Memorial?
Sure.
Sounds
There's
about
one of
right.
them, yeah.
Yeah, there's one of them.
Abraham
It's a tall
Lincoln,
dildo
John-
one.
of them.
Oh, yeah.
The
yeah, yeah.
obelisk. Yeah. I would love if you were doing like dressed as a founding father.
Yeah.
But you're Mexican, German,
You're like, why is
Dominican.
Sacagawea leading this tour right now? What is happening? She's like a couple blending too dark here. I don't know what's
I'd take
happening.
your tour.
Yeah, I would be.
Thank
I'd be
you.
front row. I'd be asking questions. I would tip heavily. Yeah.
I always got frustrated by the people that asked way too many questions. I was like, and that's enough from you, okay? Because you're stealing the tour. Anybody else with a question?
Yeah, I'd
'Cause
be
you're
like,
getting
just so
deep
you
into
know,
this.
I did tours once. Just so you know, it's 20% is really nice to tip. This
Yeah.
for me. And then
Yeah.
you're like, what? Tip? Oh.
Yeah.
And where are you giving tours? Where were you giving tours?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I worked in restaurants for 7 years. So
Yeah,
that
we
was, you know, I saw a time. It was great and also horrible. You know, it was like fun people, terrible jobs.
Yeah.
I gave tours. You'll love this. I did this for like 5 minutes. I gave tours of Fifth Ave. We started at the New York Public Library. We ended at Bergdorf's.
Swanky.
And talk about making shit up. I'd be like, and this is the dress that Valentino designed for Jackie O during this and that. I would just make shit up. No one even spoke English on my tours. I was like, they don't fucking care. I'd be like, and the designer of, you know, this window, like I would just bullshit. I made no money doing it. It wasn't really fun. That's why I only did it for like a couple months, but that was my only tour guide.
And people don't get it. Once you get a taste of that restaurant life, it's a dark, twisted world. But once you walk out of a lunch rush and you've got $250 cash in your pocket, and you're like, I've got 30 minutes to go chug 2 Diet Cokes, a ham sandwich from a bodega, and smoke 2 cigarettes, and I'm clocking back in for a family meal and doing it all over again.
Yeah, it was crazy.
They just don't get it. It's
I
an
ran
addiction.
the door too, which was crazy here in New York City. I
And
ran
what
the
restaurant did you work
fucking
at?
Door.
Can you
I
say?
worked. Sure, yeah. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I ran the door at Spice Market. For
Oh, I
Jean
remember
George.
Spice Market.
In the meat packing, I saw a lot of shit go down there.
Yeah.
And people would palm me all the time. You know, I'd make cash at that door. And then I worked for Laurent Tournesdale. I worked for BLT Fish, BLT Steak, BLT Prime, and I worked for Tom Colicchio at Kraft, Los Angeles, where it was a time.
You were in the fine dining space. You get it.
Yeah. It was hard to get out. I had to make a rule for myself. There was an age where I said, I'm not working in restaurants past this age. And let me tell you how many times my mom would call me because I'd be like crying poor.
Yep.
And she'd be like, you have the best restaurant resume in New York City. And I'm like, I can't print it out. I said to myself I wouldn't do it.
Yep.
I'm not printing it out.
When I moved to LA, and we talked about this briefly offline, but when I moved to LA and I came with this New York experience, I could not get a hosting. I had been a bar manager.
Yeah.
I could not get a dishwasher position because I didn't have fake tits and wasn't a porn star. And I remember going to interviews dressed professionally, like a nice blazer, cute loafers, like very cute. And then I would walk in and it would just be all supermodels. And they were like, we understand that you basically worked at like La Bernardin, but we we cannot hire you because we don't see your areolas.
That's
and
so
moving
wild.
to LA,
That's
and
true.
that's why I ended up working at SoulCycle, because I the irony of me going from like working in fine dining to working at a gym.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it was the only job I could get, and I took a pay cut. I ended up working like $12.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get a restaurant job
So
in
crazy.
LA.